distinctive visual language, eccentric characters, and sets specifically constructed to distinguish humor. We've seen these elements coming concurrently together in films through various filmmakers well known today. Well, these were mostly inspired from the visionary French filmmaker Jacques Tati, the man who reinvented slapstick. Throughout this essay, I'll be looking at aspects of Tati which influenced the film comedy genre and why he is known worldwide as one of the most unconventional and percipient directors of the sound era, mainly focusing on conflict incited by individuals living in a computerized society. He wrote and directed 6 feature films, where he is mostly remembered for his portrayal of Monsieur Hulot. He initially started off as a rugby player for a short period of time. He then began a career as a pantomimist and an impressionist, where most of his acts were pantomimes of well-known athletes of the time. Some of his acts were even captured on film, which comprises of Oscar, Champion the Tennis in 1932 and 30 Shots in 1934. Through this, he managed to explore European circuses and concert halls, getting an exposure on the way of life there. And he didn't have the slightest idea that that career background was going to have a tremendous impact on him in the future as one of the greatest filmmakers of the 20th century. Before filmmaking, Tati served in France's 16th Regiment of Dragoons during World War II and witnessed the massive surge of social and cultural changes in France after the war as his film career transpired. These were predominant factors in how his films and comedic elements have been influenced, especially during the 1950s and 60s, where American consumerism played a huge role in France going through a colossal and expeditious urbanization and evolving user culture, together with changes in the system, work culture, and recreation. He wanted to analyze the French society and provide a better understanding of the advancing social and technological rising occurring there. 2 of his films, which effectively show us the swift modernity, are Mononcle in 1958 and Playtime in 1967, even though they came from different periods of times. So, what makes Tati exceptional from other French filmmakers of his era? Well, his works are presented with a satirical look at life, dignifying modern lifestyle and at the same time gently making fun of it. He wanted to capture the period of transition which was effected from the rise and spread of the modernist movement, which mainly showed how people express their feelings toward the evolving world. Certain aspects of it which can be seen in Tati's works are surrealism and abstract expressionism. Playtime came out during the time when people showed hatred and infuriation towards modern architecture, and it shows these aspects of modernism effectively with its architectural style consisting of maze-like grid of identical cubes and carbon copy modern buildings, regardless of whether it's an office, airport, or even a hotel. Apart from envisioning a fictitious world comprising of humor, he gave life to them through various mediums in films. He made sure that his set design was magnificently detailed, sound effects were pitch perfect, and visual gestures were of expert choreography. Another visually aesthetic feature Tati possesses is the ability to focus on the most insignificant details, where all his various comedic acts transpire at once and we are required to watch them again to observe every action. He executes this through his overlapping audio effects and extremely detailed mise-en-scène, with 2 or more separate events simultaneously occurring. A good example which shows us this is the opening scene of Playtime, where Hulot gets lost in the office and searches around for the officer. At first it seems like a normal office full of just rooms, and as Hulot walks into one of it, it is later revealed that it is actually a lift, and without him realizing, he ends up in one of the highest floors. As he comes down looking for just a single cubicle, the maze of cubicles is later unveiled, with Hulot running around confused. Tati shows us how tiny details play a huge role in making a scene look comical. Along with that, he also plays with the placement of camera angles and long takes, which eventually misdirects us into something unexpected. He shows us how Hulot travels around the society in most of his films by setting the camera at a further distance from where the action is happening and using several long shots. In addition to that, he also tries to bring us into the frame and wander around his world. An instance of this can be seen in a scene in Mr. Hulot's Holiday, where Hulot and an elderly man are sitting beside each other eating. While Hulot is busy eating, the man beside him tries to wipe his mouth with the napkin he's holding, and just as he brings it up to his mouth, Hulot stretches his hand across to take the salt, resulting in the man wiping his mouth in Hulot's hand instead of the towel. As the camera is stationary for quite some time, we see it happening again, only to enrage the man. This unique technique eventually gives us a sense of visual hilarity and at the same time challenges us, raising the stakes for the film comedy genre. Furthermore, not forgetting the conventional filmmaking techniques of Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, and W.C. Fields, he reinvented the slapstick genre with his signature character, Monsieur Hulot, in most of his films, which was also inspired from Chaplin's character, the Tramp. However, unlike the main character Tramp, Hulot is a secondary character who enters the specific setting to solely evoke humor. He provides us with a sense of humor and the feel of a modern lifestyle by prioritizing the portrayal of his characters over a traditional narrative, where importance was mainly given to visual humor, mannerisms, physical actions, and timing. This not only made him notable for his intricate storylines and experimental approach in storytelling, but also heavily influenced slapstick comedy as we know it today, through comedians such as Rowan Atkinson, Jim Carrey, and even directors such as Steven Spielberg and Wes Anderson. In retrospect, TATI isn't all about the big picture and instead invites us to his wacky, fictional world filled with the smallest mundane elements that provide us an absolutely hilarious experience. He inspired and revamped the film comedy genre, showing us that it's the simplest things in life which gives life to the greatest humor out there. Therefore, he indeed is remembered as one of the most unconventional and percipient filmmakers of the 20th century.